Okay, so we're going to look at something pretty easy today. It's basic. It's a review. It's adding and subtracting decimals. Okay, and remember, decimals, that's our number system. And it's called decimals because it's based in 10. And everything has a place value. And the one thing about adding and subtracting decimals is that you want everything to line up with their appropriate place values. So let's look at how we would add two whole numbers and subtract two whole numbers and talk about why we set it up the way we do. Alright, so when I look at the number of 327 plus 56, okay, it's right over there. Actually, it's over there, I guess. There it is. So when I had 327 plus 56 and I set it up, the column addition, we set it up as 327 plus 56. Now, we don't set it up left to right just because, or right to left because that's the way we've been taught, but we set it up that way because the place values need to line up. We need to add ones with ones, and we need to add tens with tens, and hundreds with hundreds, and so on. So our place values need to line up. Alright, so let's take a look and see how we do. So I have 327 plus 56. My place values, my ones, they're lined up right here. My tens are lined up. Okay, so everything's lined up the way it needs to be. We add 7 plus 6, we get 13. We have 13 ones. Well, we only leave 3 of them in the one column, and then we carry the other 10 ones to the tens column. So now we have 10 plus 20 plus 50. Well, that is 80. And then 300s plus nothing is just 300. Okay, and the same thing can be true when we're gonna subtract two whole numbers. I have 415 minus 98. Any problems? I have a problem. And the problem is I can't take my 8 ones from 10. Okay, I need to take my 8 ones from the 5 ones. And you'll see that, when we regroup, we're going to move these tens over. But right now, when we set it up, we like to line it up with the like place values. So it's 98. And again, your ones are lined up with your ones, your tens with your tens, and your hundreds with your hundreds, and so on. The other thing to remember is that we have this decimal point that is here and here. We don't write it because there's no decimal part to the number, but it's there. So now I want to take 8 from 5. I can't do that, so I go to my tens column and I regroup. I leave no tens, and I bring those 10 ones over to the ones column, so that way I can subtract 15 minus 8 is 7. Now I have 9 tens from 0 tens. Can't do it, so I regroup again. I take one of my hundreds away from the 4, so we leave 3 hundreds there, and we move one of them, which would be 10 tens, into the tens column. 10 minus 9 is 1, and 3 minus 0 is 3. Okay, the other thing you can do, and we should be doing, is estimating to check our work. So 327, well, we can say that's about 330, and 56 is about 60. So we'd expect our answer to be somewhere around 390. 415, well, that's about 415, because when I look at the other number, it's 98, and that's about 100. So I'd expect my answer to be somewhere around 315. Okay? There's adding and subtracting whole numbers. Let's look at adding decimals. Remember, I want my place values all in the same location. So I want to make sure my ones are my ones, my tens are in my tens, and my hundreds are in my hundreds. Okay? And right now, the way that I got it set up there, they're not looking so lined up. That's why we do the column addition. So 14.531 that decimal point big, plus, no, 9.6, Mr. Bowler, because we need to make sure everything goes to the right. It's not what we're lining up. Go back here. I didn't line up my ones here with, didn't mean to do that. I didn't line up my 6 here, my 6 ones with my 2 10s. I lined up my ones with my ones. So that's what I'm going to do over here. I'm going to line up my ones with my ones. Well, this is 9 ones and 6 tenths. So let's erase that and rewrite it. My 9 ones go there, and my 6 tenths go here. Now I can add them up. What's the shortcut to adding decimals? Is that when we add or subtract decimals, the key is not to line up, not to pay attention to your place value so much, but the shortcut is just to line up your decimal point. That automatically puts your ones and your ones together, your tenths and your tenths together, and whatever other place values. So the key to it is to line up the decimal point. When you're adding and subtracting decimals, it's not a matter of lining everything up to the right. It's a matter of lining up the decimal point. If we go back here, remember I told you that your decimal point is here and here, okay, and they're lined up. So you line up your decimal points. Now, I don't have any hundredths here. I don't have any thousandths here. So I put zeros in as space fillers. That way they both come out to the thousandths place. And after that, though, we add everything as we normally would. 1 plus 0 is 1. 3 plus 0 is 3. 5 plus 6 is 11. Carry the 1. 1 plus 4 is 5. Plus 9 is 14. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Here's my decimal point. Here's my decimal point. So there's where my decimal point goes. It gets lined up. Oops. It gets lined up with the other ones. So all your decimal points are lined up. Alright. And if I wanted to estimate, to check my work, 14.531 is about 15. And 9.6 is about 10. And 15 plus 10 is 25. I look at that answer there, it's pretty reasonable. Okay, moving on. Subtracting decimals, same thing. Don't worry about lining everything up to the right. Sometimes it works out that way, coincidentally. But the key is to line up your decimal points. And if you're not quite sure if you did it right, check your estimate. Let's do the estimate first. So 93.2 is about 93. And 17.6 is about 18. If I subtract those, as I already know how to, 13 minus 8 is 5, 8 minus 1 is 7. So we'd expect our answer to be somewhere around 75 if we did everything right. Can I take 6 from 2? No, so we're going to regroup. Remember, if I take 1 and I cut it into 10 equal parts, I have 10 tenths. So 12 tenths minus 6 tenths is just 6 tenths. 2 minus 7 I can't do, so I got to borrow from the tens or regroup. I have 8. Carry the 10 over there. So now I have 12 ones minus 7 is 5, and 8 minus 1 is 7. And we see, looking at our estimate, that is a pretty reasonable estimate and a pretty reasonable answer. Okay, the last one that we're going to do is what happens when we take our decimal, we line up our decimal points like we're supposed to, and we have this situation when we're subtracting. I don't have any hundredths or thousandths. Well, it's not that big of a deal because just like we did back here, we added in some zeros. We're going to add in some zeros here. 0 hundredths, 0 thousandths. Can't take 4 from 0, so I need to regroup. I don't have any here to take away. So I need to regroup again. So I take 1/10 away, that leaves me with 5/10, which makes, my 1/10 would be 10/100ths. Well, now I need to borrow one from here. So I'm left with 9/100ths and 10 1,000ths. Then 10 minus 4 is 6, 9 minus 5 is 4, 5 minus 1 is 4, decimal point, 5 minus 3 is 2, 4 minus 1 is 3. Okay, there's my decimal point all lined up. And then my estimate, 45.6 is about 46. 13.154 is about 13. And I subtract, 6 minus 3 is 3, 4 minus 1 is 3. It's a pretty reasonable estimate, pretty reasonable answer when I look over here at what we got. Okay, so that's how we add and subtract decimals. The key to it all, adding and subtracting decimals, is to line up the decimal point. Okay, and I'll tell you what, if someone can explain to me how this is similar to adding and subtracting fractions, lining up the decimal point, what it is that we're doing, I'll be a little surprised, and I'll be very pleasantly pleased. Okay, so I will see you tomorrow. We'll do some practice with this in class.